What up, Geek Variants? So today we are talking about Invincible Season 3. The entirety of the season we're pretty much going over. And basically, we just had some stuff that we needed to get off our chests, talk about what's going on, what we like, what we didn't like, whatever the case may be. Tony, in particular, has a lot of stuff that he wants to say in regards to this season. So we're definitely giving the floor. But before we get started on all that, we just want to say that it's an outstanding job to the crew. They've been busting their butt to make sure that this is possible. They've been listening to the fan base with a lot of things in regards to how they operate their stuff. They have commented back in last season about, hey, we're trying to do a work, so let us do our work. And for that, this stuff takes time, and they delivered another season very quickly right after for us to enjoy and you know see all the stuff that's going on within this world. So very glad to see it, very glad to have it just in
Yep.
general. So thank you to them for doing the work that they do, because Kirkman has been on point with Harold in this entire series and making sure that stuff is in line with what he wants to show. Now keep in mind, he just said recently that he wants to go about 7 to 8 seasons with this. So we'll get to that with that. So overall, Tony,
Mhm.
as a season, what do you think of this season?
Okay, so first, let me speak from as we as we all call him as the casual fan, somebody who's just watching to watch. Season three was outstanding. It wasn't the best of the three, but it also wasn't bad for a third season. Because Will, you and I both know that usually seasons 3 through 5, the show writers, they lose whatever they had in the first two seasons and things start to go downhill quickly. This season didn't do that. It gave you what you wanted. It gave you flushed out characters. It gave you new characters. Angstrom Levy coming back is great because he is a main antagonist for Mark. I love how they kept true to his story. And pretty much everything that you see with him has happened to him in the comics. Now, as somebody who's read the comics, it could have been better, and that's just because. And Will tell you, I'm very critical when you adapt a major crossover. Like Civil War was a bad adaptation of a crossover. It was horrible. The Invincible War, to me, while it was great, the scenes were great, the interactions with the different marks were great, but it felt more like a battle than a war. Now, yes, the Invincible War did technically last one issue, but we all know how thick the issues can get. It was technically 6 issues total because you had the one main war where everybody was fighting, but then you had the aftermath of what people had to deal with. Now, one thing I didn't like about the show is right after the Invincible War happened, they were doing the cleanups, Conquest. I felt like that was just. I understand you wanted the big shock and all, but for me, we needed some more. We need to see more of what happened. We know Rex Flo died, and he went out like a G. He went out like Gambit, and that's what you're supposed to do. And that will have effect on somebody later on in the series. If they do that right, you can forget about the Viltrumites. If they do what they do with this person, you got to. The big bad is not going to be them. But no spoilers. I would have loved to get more of the people who knew Rex. I needed more from them. We got Adam Eve saying, "Oh, how she loved him and all this," and then you got a nice little funeral, but pretty much that was it. One of your major characters just died. One of your teams. He was, part of the Guardians, the next iteration of the Guardians. I needed just a little bit more, I needed some kind of sadness. I needed Monster Girl to lose her mind and go just tear up something. That's what I needed. But that's just me, and that's just what I want. Overall, very solid season.
All right, I definitely agree. Again, the season was solid. Number one still has it for me as far as good.
Of course.
Uh, Rating this season just from, and this is what I've been watching the seasons as is, and then I go back and I read the comics just to see the differences because I want to be able to give the difference. Like Tony has the comic first perspective and then coming in and watching the show, so his opinions are going to be different as opposed to mine, who I watch all this stuff first and then I go watch read the comics and see the differences and what happened. And I'm like, oh, okay, this should have went this way or this should have went that way in terms of how the comic goes. But again, it's an adaptation, so I don't expect everything to
Yep.
be picture perfect. Things are going to be different. Things are going to change. Some things can change for the better. Some things can change for the worse. It's all about variation. Now, the biggest thing from this season was I think Mark is struggling to find himself and really
Yep.
solidify what it is for him and how he wants to operate with everything going forward. Again, with relationships, being a big brother, with you know, being more or less the man in the house and his mom trying to move on, kind of handle things like being the solo hero, being on, promotion to leader of the Guardians of the Globe is something that was offered to him. Like these are things that he's all dealing with. And starting his own business, being an entrepreneur, that's a difficult thing in itself. Like all the stuff that he's got to come to terms with, and he's having to fight through it. So we got a good emotional story for Mark and just what he needs to do. But
Let
on
me
the
let me
other end of,
piggyback. Let me
go ahead.
piggyback off what you just said about Mark and his struggle. The main struggle that he's having right now is what most superheroes have. How far do I go? Some stop at the line, some stop before they get to the line, and some push a little bit further. And for me, you have the mom on one of his shoulders saying, "Hey, you can't do this. You got to do this. Remember how you were raised." But then you got Oliver that's jumping up on his other shoulder talking about kill him. That's all it is. It's like you have Nightwing and you got Damian Wayne. Those are your two different ends of the spectrum. You got Mom, you got Oliver. Who you gonna listen to? And that's the situation he is in right now because he's now starting to see. And perfect example was Angstrom Levy. If he would have killed him, none of this happens. Nothing. The Invincible War doesn't happen. It's not possible. So now he's trying to see with Conquest coming in and doing what he did and how he just go ahead because I'm gonna start talking about that and oh my, that was
Okay.
great. That fight scene was great.
So as far as the season goes, the season has been, has ups and downs with characters. You have Adam Eve again trying to make a return back to society after being out there solo. That her relationship with Mark, definitely going further, and she's definitely willing to take it further. There's no hard feelings with any of the exes. Everybody seems like everybody's cool with moving on.
Oh,
Again,
date night.
yeah, date night was great. So with that, Amber, even with Rex and Ray and their relationship, like it really looked positive. It looked like it was going places. So with that, didn't know it was going to go to a funeral, but that's
The minute Rex said, "I'll be back,"
yep.
that should have let that should have let
That was
everybody know
already
watching that he was gonna die.
that
The
was
minute
already
he looked at her, Rex finally said, "You know what? I'm in a good place." That is the kiss of death for any character, any
yep.
of them. You come up and say you're in a good. You come up and say you're in a good place. You're gonna die.
Yeah. So he was in a good place, and the thing is, I wasn't sure how it's supposed to go because I know that Ray wasn't supposed to be around as long as she was. Uh,
Correct.
she was originally done differently in the comics and stuff. She was a he at the
So
time.
in the comics, yes, Ray wasn't Rae. It was Ray, and she was a he, and he died when he got eaten by Komodo. He got absorbed by the stomach acid and died. That was the end of Ray's story. So, what are they going to do with her now? I mean, you could give her other people's storylines because that's pretty much how rewrites work. But will she will she serve a major purpose? She'll probably be on the Guardians again, but I don't know.
I don't know if she'll go back to the Guardians. I mean, this could be a more or less a, for like a heel turn for her. She could be like, I tried to be, hopeful. I tried to retire, I tried to get away from this, and the stuff still followed me. And she could get vindictive. She can get vindictive to the point where she's more or less vigilante type style. She can be a bad guy. She can team up with people. She can
Yeah,
just throw it all
but
away and say, I'm done. Like there's options for her. So
this would be uncharted territory. So this can be hopefully if they work her correctly, it'd be a great new dynamic to Invincible. But let's one thing I don't want from her is to just forget about her. I don't want this, her last scene, her crying next to a tree. Let's have some closure on her. If she's gonna be done, let it be done. Let us know she's gonna be done, and we don't have to worry about her.
true. So with this entire season, we had a slew of characters that were able to either get a little bit more time and further their stories. So Monster Girl and Rudy, their relationship is improving. They're getting a little
Hmm.
bit better, and he went through and found a way to help her to stop de-aging. So more or less, she's kind of held in limbo. It looks like with that belt that she has on.
As long as she's
So
holding that belt, she's she's gonna be at this age. I don't know if
so
they're gonna make her age now. Normally, if she keeps the belt on, because from my
that's
understanding,
curious with that.
the belt holds her pretty much essence or DNA, or I forget what the wording that they use. It holds it there. So every transformation, when she comes back, it stays there. So I don't know if that means that she's at this age or she can age.
So I don't think she, and again, I don't know the comics as well, so I don't think she was ever at the point where she couldn't age. Like she could definitely age and
Well,
stuff
the
like that. She definitely
transformation brought her
transformation
back.
just took her backwards. So with this
Yes,
being said, with the belt being on and the way it was described, it was like it takes a snapshot of her at that moment and it reverts her back to that moment as far as her body. So if she's aging, so if she goes a year without transforming and she grows up, when she transforms again, it will snapshot her at that particular moment
right.
and then bring her back to that. So it'll allow her to start growing up and have a full life. She will be, what is she, like 30 something years old or whatever right
She's
now?
34 now, I think.
That
But
so
how long does she go without transforming though? That's the thing. She's gonna have to willingly not transform to age.
I don't think it really is really going to matter so that, because here's the thing, as long as she's not staying in her monster form. So that's the thing. If she stays in her monster form, then essentially she's gonna go right back to being whatever form she was before she transformed. But
Hmm.
if she's just kind of chilling and it's like, okay, 3 months go by, well, she just aged 3 months and she transforms, she'll go back right then and there.
Correct.
She'll continue to age whatever and transform. So it's the amount of time that she spends in monster form per year that I think you would take away at the end of the year. So if she 365 days, she spent 65 days in monster form, then she only aged 300 days. So she didn't even make it a full year. So it's like that's kind of the math that I'm looking at as far as it's concerned.
I just want to see toddler monster girl and how she turns into a kaiju because that's what happens when she makes it to toddler. That's her most powerful form, and she is a kaiju. She's bigger than Godzilla.
Very
Yeah,
well. So, I mean, with that being said, so it's more stuff that, we can kind of see. I didn't expect, much from her as far as her transformations outside of the standard. So it'll
right.
be interesting to see just how that character carries. We have some of the other characters which we see Immortal and Multicate. They're about to, you know, they're leaving to run off and do the relationship. So it's like, all right, cool. They're out of the fold. I kind of feel like they'll be brought back at some point in the future. just because when the world's in trouble and it gets too bad, like they can't not sit by
They,
and not do
they can't
anything
not
unless they
help.
just
They
don't
can't
care.
not
Yeah.
help. They can't.
So they'll definitely be back at some point down the line. And as we go through, we end up seeing more and more of, again, just Mark's, kind of, I want to say, Mark's family again building itself, with Oliver becoming more independent in terms of what he wants to do and his powers. We see that mom is trying to, Debbie's trying to go out and date and do her thing, and the guy
Get a
seems
groove
like
on.
he's genuinely a decent guy for what I know. But any type of show like this, I always kind of have reservations when it comes to that kind of stuff. So I just kind of sit and watch him, see either he'll be a stain on the wall at some point in time, or he'll actually you know maybe betray somebody, or he'll actually make it to the end and just be an all around decent guy. I don't know. Um, Oliver, we know that he's advanced. I'm waiting to see his next transformation, if he makes it that far, because he's about been taken out quite a few times. Because
He
again, they
always
they
fighting
age.
somebody he shouldn't be fighting.
He's always fighting somebody, and I do, I kind of think that that's part of his move to like get Mark to take people out. So like that is like, well, if I'm in danger, like you got to come in and do something to help me, freaking. So I feel like he's kind of forcing Mark's hand from time to
No,
time.
he's just doing it. It's his little attitude that I can do this. I can do this, and then he get
Yeah,
bodied.
yeah, and I think it's inadvertent. Like I don't think it's intentional. Like really think it's
I
inadvertent.
mean,
Like
he is a child, so
yeah,
it's what
so it's
children
just like
do. They can fly in head first and don't think.
yeah, when he got all his teeth knocked out, that was hilarious to
Bruh,
me. I'm
he
sorry.
got Conquest backhanded him and broke his jaw. That's
Yes,
all that
Lord.
was.
So, but yeah, Oliver again. I think he needs a new name. Omni Kid ain't really doing it for me. We'll see how it goes. Cecil. Cecil has been
Hmm.
on one. I was happy to see his backstory. I was happy
Yes.
to see how he came around and how he became, what he is and what he's doing. So I think that that's really fun in terms of understanding that particular character and how he operates. But now we know even more like what he's been through to get to that point to start setting people up to be in that same situation. It's like I was a hero more or less to the degree of getting stuff done, but you need to keep me around for whatever
Right.
reason. And this is why I keep this scar as a reminder, because this is all I got left. It's like this is me. I'm just like freaking. What else is under Cecil's skin? Like I wonder, like is anything in the range of Donald freaking type stuff,
Did you
or
not
what?
see the Reaniman?
Yeah, I've seen them.
Do you know who they are?
I remember the original guy,
No, 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 no. The
but that
ones
was
in this last episode were all the defeated Invincibles. He's turning them into Reaniman because if you listen to what he said, this one took out the strongest being on our planet. When will these be ready? Because we can't fight an army of them. He's
yeah,
making his own army of Viltrumites. And we'll talk
and
about that when we get to the different marks because a lot of them they're not.
all right. So again, there's a lot going on here, and there's a lot that we have to really digest. So let's get into the marks. Let's get into, because everything else, we got a lot of characters that have made their introduction into this universe. Uh, we've had stuff like um, Dropkick and Fight Master who jumped in, which we saw our first different variant of Mark, which not sure which one that is, but that was just a variant of Mark that popped in, held some clothes, and freaking left, and then brought him back.
Correct.
So that's one there. And we don't know what they're up to. Whatever Dropkick and Fight Master got going on, I'm still curious about. Like, what is it that you are doing? Because they were very adamant about getting rid of Immortal so they can do whatever it is they're trying to do.
Right.
So that's one. So we're not going to get on the spoilers and stuff on that because I don't know, but that's something that I'm wondering about.
Okay.
All right. So I want to spoil, but they're up to something in my head. I know they're up to something.
It'll
Oh,
it'll be answered eventually.
all right. We got some other heroes and stuff that showed up, which people are excited about, like Tech Jacket, freaking Brit. and all these guys so that they're not part of the Guardians of the Globe or anything, but they are other heroes that are around. Um,
They are Tech Jacket is an Image property. He was one of the few that was actually allowed to be on the show. And when we start talking about the Invincibles, I'll start telling you that the characters that we're missing, and we can go over that later.
okay,
But
now we're about to get into
he's
Invincibles here shortly.
Tech Jacket is has his own comic book, and he's BA, as he proved by defeating two marks.
Yeah, yeah, he was up there scrapping, and he was not the time.
And he can beat Mark 1-on-1, but 2-on-1 he did have to overload his suit to destroy them. But it took him out. It didn't kill him, but it took him out to fight.
Yeah, freaking, we definitely needed freaking Battle Beast on Earth at this time, which thankfully
Yeah,
he
he
survived his encounter and he's hanging out and he's wanting more. So
yeah he wanted his glorious death, and he hasn't gotten it.
yeah, he's. I feel like he'll get it eventually. All right, so
Yeah.
let's talk about these marks. We got
Okay.
several different ones, right? So these
So,
marks,
and I just
without giving
named
any
them.
spoilers, yeah. So they had different names. Some of them in the show. So at that. So parallel mark made sense. I miss my mom mark, but like no lens mark was no gogglesable or whatever is what they
Yeah,
named it in the whatever. And then you have one with goggles.
that's Spider Mark. I don't care what nobody say. That is my dude. He is dark, and I love his design. I love it. I love it. That's like my favorite costume.
All right. So we got who is it? We got mustache mark,
That's
which is
no. You have to say mustache. Mustache.
mustache mark. Right. So mustache
Mustache.
mark. So this is more in representation of his father, and
Yes.
all that kind of stuff. We got cloth mark. That kind of gives me those grifter
Who?
vibes.
Yes, from Wildcats. Yep. And he's one of the tough ones.
Yeah, freaking. So Omni mark, which looks like he just kind of made his own version of the
He
Omni suit.
he took yeah he killed his dad, and well most of them killed Nolan, but he was pretty bad with it, and he just took over as being Omni Man.
All right. Viltrum mark, just standard. Freaking like if he was raised as a Viltrum.
He was that he never left Viltrum.
He never left. Okay. So his mother is someone different, more likely.
Correct.
Right. All right. So bulletproof mark, which
He did.
he's
He killed Bulletproof and took his outfit.
okay, very well. So after that,
That's
freaking,
pretty much
uh,
it.
sleeveless mark,
He had no
you know,
sleeves.
inmate mark. Look like he'd been through some stuff.
He was captured on Viltrum and put in their prison system for a year.
Look like he's been in there freaking a lot longer.
Yeah, he's
Um,
had to fight every day.
all right. Short hair mark.
Just cause.
Okay, there's long hair mark down there.
Yep.
Freaking, we got sinister mark, who just looks unhinged.
Let me. I'm just
Looks
gonna
like a
say
mad
this:
wasp. All
Sinister Mark, by far, and I mean it's not even close, is the most evil version of Mark. Period. You could combine all of these, and they still would not equate him. I'm saying
Duly noted. We
we got
got
Mohawk. Now
Mohawk
Mohawk
and
Mark.
Flaxen.
Mohawk Mark has his own storyline, and I hope they do it, and they should do it because of what you know from earlier. That's where it starts.
Okay.
So he Mohawk Mark will become a major player, and I hope they do it because it's a long story.
All right. And Flaxen Mark is a version of Mark.
That's a grown up Oliver, pretty much. You know,
Okay.
Nolan had sex with a Flaxen, and they had a baby, and it was
Yeah.
Mark.
and it was Mark. That was just point blank period. This is what happened, and this is how it went down. So yeah, either of them. So yeah, he's definitely got the suit. So
Now,
what
I
else?
will
These
say, I will say these are not all of them, but these are the major players. You
the
had
major.
you had some that didn't show up till day two, some didn't show up till day three. But these are the main ones that you mainly saw flying through at the same time. There's one left that is not on here, but he didn't come till day two, and that's the guy. He destroyed London, but he didn't come
Okay.
to the second day.
All right. So and some of these were taken out. Some of these were taken out by Earth's forces. So I was getting that. These are all the ones that were eliminated during the course of the
No,
Invincible War slash
correct.
battle. All right. So and I gotta go back and I gotta look at the screen at the end. We know it was like what, like 7 or 8 of them that were transported.
The
So these are all the ones
the
that were here.
These are all the ones that got transported to the desert dimension. These are the
Okay.
survivors. These are all still alive for
One, two,
now.
three, four, five, six, seven, eight. Yeah. So yeah. So these are the ones that are left, and these are the ones that we're waiting to see what they're gonna do, how they're gonna respond to whatever's going on. We know they're alive. We know they're kicking, and they want revenge on Angstrom, more likely, as well as just all types of carnage and destruction. So,
So let me just point out one thing. Four of these marks killed. Well, one of the mark killed a major image player in his dimension. Three of the other ones fought and killed them in their own dimension. But one on here is stronger than he looks, but he's not strong as Sinister.
hmm,
Mm-hmm.
so it's kind of waiting to
Now
find
your
out.
mind is
Yeah, I'm gonna be just gonna be turning. We're trying to figure out what's what. So,
all right. So let's go back to the first slide so people can see their names. Okay, so we're going to start with Viltrum Mark. Viltrum Mark killed everybody on the planet, but his claim to fame, Viltrum Mark killed Spawn
mm,
in a hand to hand combat by himself. If that's not impressive, because we know how BA Spawn is, right?
yeah, Spawn is nasty with it. So, I don't know if I can put that together.
I mean, um they try to make the invincible characters stronger than what they are because we already know their power scaling is not comparable to Marvel or DC. Their power scaling is might not even be comparable to Dragon Ball, and as ridiculous as they get. So, Mohawk Mark is he killed Adam Eve, felt bad about it, and then turned into Maestro Hulk. Remember the
Mm,
scene where Maestro Hulk had all the Bettys?
yeah.
That's what happened to Mohawk. He runs the dimension. He runs everything. Most of these guys they do rule the Viltrumite
There.
Empire. A lot of them do. I can't tell you about Sinister because then that'll spoil everything about him.
Yeah. Don't freaking do not. I don't want to know.
So I will say most of the ones that were taken out were turned into Reaniman. Some of them couldn't be, like the short hair and long hair who fought Tech Jacket. They couldn't be because it was pretty much nothing left. So we have to think about that with them. I'm trying to think. Okay, so we can go back to the next slide with the X's. So if we look, you see the ones that are left.
Hmm.
All of them are in the desert dimension. We will and I hope we will see them later. And I hope then now this is also a separate storyline from what's going on because as we saw in the last episode, the face huggers are back. So you're
Yeah.
gonna have a break. You're gonna have a break now that Conquest has been defeated, which he, Mark shouldn't have, but he had help from everybody. That's the only way he did it. You're gonna have a break from Viltrumites for a minute because, as we know, you can get burnt out on characters fighting themselves. You know what I'm saying? You can't fight a Viltrumite every single episode. So now you
No,
got to
you
go to
cannot.
something else. So Mark has to heal up. Eve has healed herself with her powers, which are just crazy. So you're going to have the face huggers come in for a minute. Then you're going to have possibly the order. That's with I can't ever get that metal face dude name right. Him and his crew.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's like an Injustice League. So they can be out there. In fact, they are out there because we did see them. I think episode 4 or 5. They started to come together. Um, so we're gonna have a break from that, and hopefully they bring this in after they do the facehugger one because Levy's gonna come back and just know he made a deal, and the ones he made the deal with, they want something from him, and
They
he's
want a
gonna
new
have to,
home world and something else.
and they're gonna make him pay because they're like, hey, we done saved you a couple times now. We done got you upgraded. We need you to work with us. So I need the closure from this, and I will say I can't even say that. Just know
Okay.
it goes down in the desert with them. It goes
Yeah, I mean,
down.
I'm expecting it to. I'm expecting something to pop off. I don't know what exactly, but I'm expecting something to pop off. So
It's it's
again,
it's it's I can't I
all
can't
right.
I can't.
So we'll leave it be. So these guys were destroying all over the world, and if you remember seeing again, they showed a couple scenes, but they were everywhere: L.A., Chicago, New York, Paris, London, Moscow, Tokyo, Sydney. Like they were putting in work, destroying stuff because they got free reign to do so. Everything looks so nice and pretty. Let's wreck shop. So they proceeded to wreck shop and do what they need to do.
Now these aren't all the places they destroyed, but these are the ones that were prominent. Like they did.
Yeah.
I think they said they did Beijing. They did Poland. They did other places where it wasn't just these 8 that did it. It was more, but these are the prominent ones that survive. So this is where I highlight.
All right. So where just everything was kind of popping off and they were scrapping. So, but yeah, I mean, because when we were sitting there talking about it, we were trying to understand. It's like, okay, these guys came in and they were just wrecking shop and stuff. It's like who in each of these particular areas has like, because we only know about what's going on in the U.S. and what's going on with freaking Marks with that. Um, but I do wish we saw a bit more of them in that episode. Freaking Danny, yep, great to have you here. Yeah, so that's kind of one of the things we were talking about is we saw them come in, we saw them do damage and stuff. It was over a period of about 3 days and stuff,
And
but
you
they
got
ended up
this
getting into
much.
the desert. So there's a lot more that could have been shown. And again, it's adapted for television, so it's not going to be drawn out. But they
But
could have
again,
probably
if
easily done a couple more episodes with
in my
this.
opinion, it should have been 2 episodes
2 episodes.
because you packed everything into one episode, and it as well as it was put together well. Like the choreography, the transition from place to place was beautiful, but some of the places felt rushed. It's like I need to see more people fighting than just punch. Oh, you're down. Okay, let me go somewhere else now. You know what I'm saying? You
Hmm.
had you had 16 Invincibles on day one, but you had like 24 total show up. Even if they weren't, going to be important. I myself, I like seeing variants of characters. I love the Elseworlds. I love them. Let me see something different because each one of these marks, and I will say they did this wonderfully. Each one of these marks had their own personality, and when you watch them and listen to them, and on screen, you all felt they were different. None of them felt recycled. like I said, the uniforms were great, but yeah, agree. Yeah, Viltramart, we needed to see. He was the one that I hated. We didn't see a lot of just because him beating Spawn. I think he deserved at least a 10-minute throwdown with somebody. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Because out of everybody that did not show, and I'll talk about it and tell you the ones, Spawn by far is the most OP. And anybody who knows Spawn and has read Spawn knows how powerful he is. And for one person to take him out is impressive.
Yeah, I mean these guys were, BA in their own right to be able to do the things that they did. So, and again, I want to see them, and I want to see if more heroes going to show because we got crazy introduction to characters. Like this season introduced the most characters by far in terms of each different iteration of Mark because they are not the same. Either the same person, but they're not the same character. So
Correct.
each iteration was something different, something crazy. Even watching them make fun of the other one, like, "Oh, you miss your mommy," whatever. Like
Was
it
that
was
not hilarious?
it was hilarious. It was great to see and stuff like that. It shows like we're not all on the same page. We're not all on the same accord. We all want to do what we want to do. And when you put that many people who are used to doing what they want to do on their own and run the show, you put them in a room together, things can get crazy pretty quick.
That's the
Because
desert.
again, people want to know freaking like what's up, who's in charge, who's running this stuff, and who wants to take orders, who doesn't. So,
Right.
and speaking of orders and stuff like that, we had Conquest show up. Conquest showed up at the end of this entire thing, which was just like, wow, I did not expect to see you here this fast,
Again,
this quick,
too soon. Too
you
soon for
know,
me.
and you're here on orders to take everything out and take this place by force, by whatever means necessary.
Now,
Usually, he said he was given parameters at first, with other places that he's taken over. He is apparently let off the leash for this.
let
Like,
me tell you about Conquest. Conquest is the oldest Viltrumite. And we know the older they get, the stronger they get. Conquest is the strongest natural Viltrumite. And I say natural because Thrag is not a natural Viltrumite. He was engineered to be the best. Conquest is over 8,000 years old. That's why he looks like he does. But he only bows down to one person, and that's Thrag. So and he said it that I don't even have a name because he is the most powerful. When they send him somewhere, they have to tell him exactly what they expect. Hey, don't go killing anybody. Don't hurt nobody. Take this person and this person out and come home. That's what they have to do to him. Because in his mindset, if I'm going here, I'm killing everybody. So that's why, when he said, I don't have any parameters, I'm off my leash, I'm killing everybody on the planet. And he was happy about it.
he was very happy. He was happy. He's like, I wanted to eat some hearts. I wanted to,
Oh, he is
tear people
psycho.
into it.
He's crazy.
And
But
that's what I
again,
said.
8,000 years old, your mind goes after a while.
But that's the part freaking of the entire fight. That was my favorite part of the entire fight is when he held Mark down and he whispered his freaking secrets. He whispered
Right?
what is going to that part had me freaking like, holy crap, this dude is on one.
You know what
Again,
that
what's
fight
up,
was,
Hazard?
right?
What's up, Hazard?
You know what that fight was, right? Conquest and Mark.
What was it?
That was Negan and Glenn all over again. Round
Oh
two.
yeah, yeah. That's when I made the thumbnail for that episode. So that freaking you see, I put freaking him with the bat on the thing. I was like, yo, the fact is that they have Jeffrey Dean Morgan in this was fantastic. I was like, you couldn't
Right.
do it.
And see,
Yes,
let's
unhinged and
let's let's
unhinged boy.
let's talk about this Conquest fight because everybody is in here looking at it. Now we remember from season one when Nolan and Mark was going at it, and that
Yeah,
fight,
yeah.
and you knew that when Conquest came down, it had to be more extravagant and more violent than that fight, right?
Mhm.
I don't know what. I mean, I knew what to expect, but then I saw it. I don't know which was more shocking. Him just talking trash while he's bodying Mark around the city, or him flying Mark around the world, one trying to drown him, then killing everybody on the beach with just the air from his flight, or him flying through people like he did in the train. It the entire and talking trash the entire time. That right there made this fight. That showed me Conquest is here to play, and they did him right because I need y'all to understand. Conquest was not fighting for real at all. Not until
No.
the end when Eve burnt his skin off. That's when he was like, "Oh man, I played around too much," because now he's hurt, and he was still bodying folks. Come on now, come on.
Hmm. He crushed Mark's other hand in the process and was still
He
ready to keep going.
he broke one hand, and then Mark broke his other hand on the fist, and so now Mark is literally just kicks. He's Muay Thai.
One kick, one kick. He's got
One,
one leg.
one. It's like,
Yeah,
come on, dude.
but no,
And what
like
do
that.
you do?
mm,
I mean,
You
that right
use
there,
your head.
you got to. I mean, that's all you got left. If you mount it on somebody and you don't have any extremities but your forehead, cranium cracking. That's all you got to do. It was great. That was by far, and I hope I'm not alone. That was the best fight in the entire series.
Yes, it absolutely was the best fight. Like I did not think that for as far as they were going to go with Conquest, like the amount of damage that he came in and did just when they first went to punch. And I love how they brought it back when he first went to punch and that sonic boom shattered everything around them. And
A
then when
la
they came
Superman
back to do
Doomsday.
it and when they came back to do it again and they went harder and then they shattered their own, like that was nasty. That was crazy work. Like I was just like, holy crap! Like this just shows you they just amped it up another level. And so
I
and
mean, I was hyped.
flying
I
around.
loved it.
Yeah,
I
I
loved it.
was hyped the entire
But
time. Like I
again,
was doing it.
again, one, I still think and it does follow the storyline somewhat. I still think it came too quick. I think we could have had some kind of reprieve between the Mark being thrown into the desert dimension and then Conquest showing up right afterwards. I mean, come on now. But I will say, yeah. And then Cecil did capture Conquest, did lie to Mark, told him he was dead, and he will pay the price for that. And I can't talk about what happens after that because it's a spoiler, and I got to keep reminding myself not to do that.
Yeah, no, we don't want no spoilers. Like I was surprised. I was calling for Adam Eve because I know for someone who has the ability to create, something out of nothing, I'm like there's too much. There's too much in there for her to not come in and do some amazing stuff. Like I really kind of think, Phoenix Force was the most apt description of, again, you can beat her down to a point to where she loses it and she kind of goes in and stuff like that, which is the same thing Jean Grey does. And she said herself, like, I have these blocks. When these blocks get released or I go past a certain point, I'm unhinged at that point. Like I can
She don't
push past everything
she don't pass
and
out like Jean Grey do.
yeah, and she can get stuff done with that. Um, but yeah,
What
like
else?
it was
What else?
fantastic to see her come in and scrap, and she was still not playing around. Like the whole air density thing, so like that. I was like, yo, okay, freaking, she's in there
And I'm
putting in
glad
work.
they did that because that's one thing about the series I didn't like. They downgraded her powers, and she finally got to show that she can be OP. The creating the armor with the light, that was kind of cheesy. It's been done, but when you talking about, yeah, I just made the air around you heavier, and then I just threw you. Come on now, great. And now I'm creating the air constructs a la Green Lantern, or I loved it. It was great.
Yeah, it
Thank you.
fantastic.
She is nerfed. Tony said it. She is nerfed in the show, and it's ridiculous. She's the second strongest person on Earth.
I do believe she is there because I mean, having an ability like that, like there's got to be more to it. And the fact is that I've only seen her just kind of making Green Lantern constructs more than anything. I'm like, there's got to be more to this. Like this is
Now,
not just
one thing I
standard.
will say, and I can't say nothing. Hold on. Remember when they were, of course, having, about to have sex again because that's what teenagers do, and she removed Mark's clothes and had him fold up on the floor, and then
Yeah, that's something to ask about.
they pan back to it, and then it
It
started
was
to
like goop.
liquefy.
Yeah.
Just, I need you to remember that scene because that plays an important part later. It's starting to explain why the mental block was there. Okay,
Well, so here's what I'm getting. So, and
this
again,
is hard for me. This is
I
hard.
haven't read any of it. So at that, I don't need you to give an answer, but I just want you to know where my head's at. So at that, so don't give an answer.
Okay,
When
hold
she
on. Let me
talked
do
about
this.
when she talked about having the mental blocks in place, and the fact is that she can create matter. She actually mentioned that she can't, like she was it, she couldn't mess with like organic matter or something to that effect. And I can't remember exactly what it was, but she was talking about that, and I was just like, okay, those blocks are in place. It's like, what if she can mess with that kind of stuff? What if she can do something similar to that? And now because one of those, I think, say she's got 6 blocks in her head. When this whole thing happened, I think one of those blocks broke. So at that, it's not there no more. And that's one reason why when she did what she did, it started doing whatever was going on down there. I'm like, as she continues on, more of the like again, if you got something that's some kind of cage or structure, and one side starts to
Yep.
fail, it's like that. The rest are going to start to fall. It's a
I got
domino
I
effect.
got the I got the perfect analogy.
So
If
that's what
anybody
I'm
has
waiting.
watched if anybody has watched Supernatural where Sam went to hell and came back, and Death came back because he didn't have a soul and put the soul back in your body, things happen. So Death had to put blocks in to prevent Sam from doing certain things. That is what is happening to Eve. She had blocks put in to prevent her from doing things, and now the blocks are starting to fail.
Yep. So
I got it
as
out
it
without spoiling.
Yep.
Whew,
Yeah. So
whew.
this is the part that freaking like I want to see is what happens with her as she goes on going forward. So that you have two of the most powerful beings and freaking these are together, so that the damage that they can get done is going to be ridiculous once they have a full grasp of their powers and what they can do. So yeah,
Well, once Mark gets full grasp of his powers, it's a wrap. It's a
yeah.
wrap.
So this is something that I
Mark
want to see.
Prime? Mark Prime? Come on, dude. It's a wrap.
So I want to know with this setup. So now we have characters that more characters are introduced. So one of the ones that we were talking about was the brain slug things or whatever, right?
Space huggers,
Brain,
as I call them.
yeah. So they're on the way to do whatever it is they got to do. We know that that's going to turn to something. So I'm thinking that that's kind of the next big bad,
Yes,
possibly
that is
for
the next. That
for the city.
by the
It's
book. That by the book is the next storyline that should happen.
Yeah. So I'm waiting to see what's going to go on with that. Freaking this next part, you can't say nothing if you know. So we saw, so pretty much we saw Angstrom come back and he's got his new arm. So
Hmm.
we know that the technicians they want something and they want something more. So we're waiting to see exactly what it is they want and what is Angstrom going to do. So I'm wondering if all of Angstrom's plans are put on hold so he can do what it is that they need him to do, or they're going to allow him to do what he do, but in the process, he's going to have to fulfill certain favors, and if he doesn't, then there's going to be a problem. So that's one thing that I'm wondering. Second
You
thing,
asked two different questions. You asked two
yeah,
different questions just now, and I can say yes, and you won't know what I'm talking about.
that's fine. So we got to see how that's going to work. That the other part is we see Dark Blood. So Dark
Yes.
Blood is present, and Dark Blood was trying to do something. So we have this devilish looking creature with the flaming
Mm-mm.
footprints. So by all
Mm-mm.
means, that tells you like, you know, whatever this is, some kind of, satyr looking thing. Like this thing comes up with
That's his.
flaming footprints,
That's his
right?
master, the big dog.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is what comes up. And he says about freaking, I gotta, we might have a way to restore you to your throne. All right.
Hmm.
So that means they're somewhere where it looks like they can't get out of, like they're somewhere with that, and that they need someone to come there
Purgatory.
to set up for getting him out. So it's like
Yes.
they said they would need somebody with the darkness, the evil, whatever the case may be. So they have to go get, or they have to coax freaking that darkness down
That
there
person.
to
Yes.
start some stuff. Now
Yes.
I speculated that, and again, you can't say nothing. If you know something, you can't say nothing. I speculated
You
that
have to keep
freaking
saying that because I will say something. You have to
yeah, I
keep saying
know.
that.
As I say, I speculated that right now Conquest is number one on the list as far as become. He's got 8,000. He's 8,000 years old. He's got freaking a history of all the stuff that he's done, and he's not dead. So he is the one that is most likely the one to come down and be the one to help kickstart all of that stuff. We see Mark, kind of make that distinction that I need to start taking these people out because they keep causing problems with that. So he's agreeing with Oliver and his wishes like, yeah, I gotta start taking these big guys. So he's kind of treading down that path. So that's another one. So that I think Conquest still higher on the list, but I think Mark's on the lower of the list. The one in the middle to me right now is Cecil. Sort of that. Cecil, just because Cecil is willing to do whatever it takes to get stuff done with the best interests of Earth, and I think that that's a big freaking problem for anybody who tries to cross paths because he's going to figure out whatever he can to make work. Whatever he can, he will betray, backstab, lie, cheat, steal. Like, he will do whatever it is to make sure that whatever his objectives are get done. So, excuse me, these are the three candidates that I think are possible to be utilized for that position to help return whatever this thing is to a throne. So do not spoil any of that.
You've made some good guesses, but I cannot confirm nor deny any of it.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like that's why I am sitting here, and you guys got to understand how hard this is for me. So that because when Invincible first came out, I was excited. And I was like, you know what? I want to read about all of this stuff and see what's going on and see what the entire thing is. Like I have the compendium. This is compendium number 2. We are in this. All right. This bookmark right here is where we are. But that you know, well, this is from the
Look how
top.
much,
This,
yeah, look
this
how
is where
much
we
is
are.
left.
This is how much is more that's going on in here. All right. This is literally where we stopped with season 3. I have not read past that because I don't want to know anything.
And
I
you
like
better
watching the
not.
show and
You
being
better
surprised.
not.
I don't. I literally don't want to. Like I go put these in my safe. But here's the thing. That's compendium 2. This is number 3. There is still so much more story to tell. Whatever they got cooking, whatever's going on, this is thick. This is a lot. So that's what I'm excited to see, and that's why I say when they said they were going about 4 to 5 seasons, I was like, based off of where I caught up to in the book, I was like, there's a lot more stuff. Like they're gonna rush a whole lot of stuff. But then apparently, at the end of last year at one of the conventions, they talked about going 7 to 8. And with the way Invincible's been, trucking sort of that, they can keep that pace and sort of that. But again, how much things are going to get how much are we going to have things shortened or elongated based off of whatever storylines they want to tell?
If if we go by the pace now and what how they're telling the stories, 5 seasons would do it. 6 would be stretching it. 7 would be impossible because there's not enough source material to put the. If they did it differently, if they would have stretched season 3 over to season 3 and then season 3A, have the Invincible War go more than one episode, have it 2, maybe 3 episodes. The Conquest thing should have been 2 episodes. Then you could have, I can see it stretching out. But if you're going to say, oh, you fought and defeated Conquest in one episode, so, oh, the next storyline you're gonna get rid of the face huggers in 2 episodes or 3 episodes. You're gonna eventually run out of material too fast to keep up that pace. So either they're gonna have to slow down and expound on things, but like I said, you still have just from the Invincible War, you still have 2 to 3 more storylines that you can tell just from that. So if you make each one of those a season, which you could, because just Mohawk Mark's storyline by itself leads into another major storyline. So that should be 2 seasons. It should. Maybe a season and a half. It should. Just
Yep.
that.
I mean, it's all going to be dependent on just how they want to run it. So they may have shortened some other stuff so that they could put more work into other stuff on the back end. So again, without giving any spoilers, if something else gets more time and gets more stretched out and more fleshed out, so like that, it could, it's possible that it could be worth sacrificing, the Invincible War to being shorter to
No.
get something else out. Possibly.
If it,
Again, I don't know. It depends on how it's done. We won't know the answer to that
I'm
until
gonna
we see it.
I'm gonna explain the Invincible War to you. Can I talk about this? Can we just jump right quick to this?
We can
Because
judge
I
it as
need
a
you
little
to.
freak, but you got no spoilers. Like keep it in
I just want to. It's done. I'm not going to talk about the Invincibles. I just want to talk about the people who were left out of this war
of
and
the
some of
war.
the fights that we should have seen.
Okay.
Just and I'm talking about mainstream, not their realities, mainstream or Mark Prime's universe. Who came to help Mark in the Invincible War?
And then they got left
Spawn,
out.
Spawn, your favorite character, Witchblade.
Oh.
Yes, Savage Dragon, Madman, Tech Jacket, who showed up, but it was brief, and my favorite character, Pit. You see what I'm saying? You see what they cut out, but again, they didn't have the rights. Like they had
It's right. They didn't
astounding,
have the right. So it makes more
but
sense why it was cut out if because they didn't have the
right.
rights to utilize that
But
stuff.
can you imagine that if they did, like Astounding Wolfman took oh, I forgot Fire Breather, he was there too. Um remember when Mark said to the wolf, he's Astounding Wolfman, I killed you in my universe?
Hmm.
That was Viltrumite Mark. He said that to Spawn. That was his line to Spawn in his universe. He said, I killed you. So that should have been a Spawn fight. And you remember when he came up out of the hole and looked around and then started talking? That was
Hmm.
Savage Dragon. Because the only people that were left that weren't unconscious was Pit, Spawn, and Savage Dragon. Witchblade got knocked out. Uh, Madman actually killed Omnimark.
Okay.
So, but he eventually got knocked out. A lot of them got overwhelmed, but those three they made it, and it was a battle.
So freaking this leads more to my defense of the adaptations that a lot of people are having issues with, where it's just like, yeah, like they don't have rights to certain characters. They don't have access to
Right,
things that would have made more sense in the show. So you got to give them some grace with this. Like they're doing the best they can with what they got. And that makes sense. And that's kind of and it's funny because that's the exact analogy that I used when we were watching the season finale and we were talking about it. I was like, look, you look at Avengers Civil War, and I was like, there are so many more characters in Civil War and the Infinity arc and everything like that that could have been there, but they did not have the rights to those characters. So they
that movie
had
could
to
have been.
change up how
It
they
could
do
have
the
been
story.
3 movies.
Th-
It could have
That
been
movie
three
could have
movies
been
easy.
epic. Like I said, again, they could have done so much more with all the characters, but again, they had to work what they got. X-Men were not available, Spider-Man was not available, freaking certain other properties and stuff and characters again like the Infinity Watch and all that stuff was not put
Right,
together because again they had to build all the stuff. So there's things that are in there that didn't make sense to put in because they had no rights, so they had to you know bring the issue. But again, and especially with you wanting to go bigger and badder and stuff like that, it's kind of like you got to
I'm
start off
sorry,
with somebody and kind of lead up to it. So it's just like they started off with Thanos, and they're doing their power scaling in MCU how they want to. So who's over this and who's over that, and how they built them up. So it's like, yeah, we go from Loki, and then they go, Ultron, and then they go Thanos, and now we're getting into Doom, and it's just gonna carry on from there. But I think it's
but
the same thing that's going on with Invincible. It's like we're getting that power scaling right now. We're gonna see who goes where.
right. And speaking of power scaling,
So with their power scaling, freaking with this power scaling, what characters on here, like, has every character on here been introduced in some capacity?
yes. Now let me explain how I did my power scaling. A lot of people do it just off of strength. I take everything into account. I take skill, strength, abilities, knowledge. I roll them all into one on how tough are you. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Because we've seen lesser people beat stronger people many a times. We've seen there is no way Madman should have killed Omni Mark with a yo-yo. There's no way that should have happened, but it did. Omnimark was more powerful. Madman just did it.
So, with that being said, looking at certain
And this is
characters, so this is your scaling based off of how
my
strong
hundred.
people are.
It's my opinion of everything, taking everything into account, and they're only the characters that have been introduced. So no Thrag because he hasn't been introduced yet. Because Thrag is the top dog, and that's there is no arguing that. He was bioengineered from birth to be the best Viltrumite ever. He's the only person that Conquest fears and will not fight. He fought him one time, and Thrag bullied him.
All
So
right.
and you,
So on here, so let's start off. So Darkwing 2, and that's the thing. Darkwing 2 went missing into
correct. He went into the
the
little shadow realm, and he took
yep.
an invincible with him. They believe he's dead, and if he is, that invincible ain't coming back because there's no way back.
So
You know,
yeah, he's just there. That mm. Ray's on this list. Ray, of course, is I she there.
I hate Ray, I hate Black Samson, I hate Titan.
I
I do.
mean, Titan don't really Titan don't really do nothing for me. Samson, like so I agree with all this so far. Like that's fine. All right, let's go to C. So with that you're rocking with
See, bulletproof,
Rex,
explode, duplicate,
multi
whatever, duplicate. I call it that.
duplicate, multi-paw. It's
Re-
duplicate multi-paw.
yeah, robot, the Mauler twins, and the Reaniman. I had to put them on there. They will be higher later on
Because we
down the
know what's
road
happening with them.
because
So
things are happening that we saw that Will didn't see, but I had to point it out to him. Foolish guy. Now, so that's my and bulletproof could be higher, but we haven't seen enough to know everything that he can do. Only thing we know now is he's super strong and can fly, pretty much.
and he's bulletproof.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Now let me explain B because if you look, I've grouped the entire Guardians of the Globe on here
Mm-hmm.
just because as a unit they're tough because you got War Woman and Immortal that are the muscles, but then you can't sleep on Red Rush. After that, Aquarius, yeah, he can throw
Mm-hmm.
water. If we were doing individual, he'd be down there next to Titan because he's useless.
Aqua.
And then you got Green Ghost. She was okay. I don't think she knew the full extent of her powers, and she didn't use them. Martian Man, stretchy, okay, yeah. Fake, Batman Light showed that he was totally useless, but on a team, they all work together so well that they're actually solid. If they came at you all together, you'd have a problem. As you know, when they first fought the Mauler twins, they took them out. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah, I mean,
and we've
even the
seen what
work
the
they were
Mauler
doing to
twins
Omni-Man.
can do when they fighting somebody, 2-on-1. So if they get in them 2-on-1, it's gonna be a problem. So that's why I kind of just grouped them all together.
Makes sense.
So
Makes sense. All right, and then
now we get into the top tiers, the big dogs. And let me just put this out, a disclaimer on Mark. This is where he is now, not where he's going to be and where he can be. Yes, he is the strongest hero on earth, but the problem is he has no fighting skills. He's relying on his strength and his emotions. So that's why he's low. With that being said, Mark right now is stronger than Anissa right now because if we remember when Anissa first came down, it was
she
before she took advantage of that boy. You know,
mm,
shame on you. But if we remember when she first came down, this is before he went through that massive workout and got 10 times stronger. So Mark right now is stronger than Anissa. That's why she's down here. She's still one of the top Viltrumites, but Mark would put hands on her right now. Then you got Adam Eve. We've already discussed how OP she is, but she got nerfed. But we saw how OP she was in this episode, or what she could be. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
We saw her potential here because I think this was the only time, and I hope they do it later, that she was fully unleashed. And then of course Thaddeus. Thaddeus is this high because again he's the third oldest Viltrumite, right? Conquest is older, and I forget who's right between them, and then it's him. Monster Girl is this high because we have seen Monster Girl body almost everybody below her,
Yeah.
and we we have. And then you got the three Viltrumites that fought Nolan and
Hmm.
Mark on Thraxum. If you watch them, those two were putting hands on Nolan, but it took both of them. One on one, Nolan was had the upper hand on him, but they was getting him. And I put Angstrom on here just because his ability to manipulate dimensions gives him an upper hand, as he showed you how he negated Mark in an entire fight.
Hmm.
Now, when Mark caught on to how he was doing things, then Mark started to get the advantage. But in the beginning, Mark had no answers for this man. Okay?
Got it.
Now, we get up to the top tier. And again, this is everything about them, not just strength, fighting. I need fighting skills. I need battle intelligence. You know what I'm saying? So, of course, Conquest is going to be up here. We've seen what he can do, we know his reputation. Battle Beast has We've seen Battle Beast body everybody on this list that he fought. Everybody. It didn't matter. He bodied Mark, but it was young Mark. He can still body Mark now. Um, I forget his name, but he was on the ship, and Anissa takes orders from him.
Hmm.
So that tells you what level he has. And of course, Nolan. And the only reason Nolan is above Mark, I think right now, with the conclusion of season 3, Mark is close to Nolan in strength. But again, Nolan has years, decades of experience in fighting, battle strategy. He knows this, and I give him that. And I got Allen up here because that is my dude, and I will fight anybody who says Allen doesn't belong up here because he is shown to take hits from Anissa and not feel it. So if you taking hits from somebody that's ranked below you, you can't be on their level. You have to be above them. And it will be shown later on how powerful Allen really is.
And that's what I'm excited to see. So yeah, I mean, they Invincible season 3 has been great and great to us. So that the entire series has been great to us. Amazon Prime has been delivering hits after
Yep.
hit, so that they have been doing work. I appreciate it. Thank you. We can keep this up. Like I said, we love to see this. I love to be able to talk about it, a little bit of report on it. This has been a fantastic series thus far. And again, this is only going to get more and more gruesome as time goes on because we still have other shows that we're looking forward to. So again, if you like Invincible, definitely check out The Boys if you have not already. All right,
Yes.
check out The Boys. Check out Gen V. So with that, um, everything is kind of we got another Gen V season that should be coming up next, possibly this year or next year, and then the final season of The Boys, I believe, and we should really be able to rock out. So if you haven't watched any of that, you got a lot that you can catch up on and watch. You want to see some unhinged, heroes, like this is definitely what you will see in regards to
You
that.
think Nolan is bad? Nolan is not bad compared to Homelander. Nope.
Yeah, it's
Mm-mm.
it's a whole different beast at that. But I ain't got nothing else. Like this is kind of stuff that I wanted to talk about and wanted to get some of our thoughts out for that. We had a great conversations with you guys beforehand, and we want to continue to have these conversations. But this needed its own video, just general conversation about what possibly could happen, what we saw, what we missed, and what made the most sense. So I'm with it. You got anything else? Anybody that are not spoilers related?
Uh, I mean, the only thing I can say that's not spoiler related is Iron Man sucks.
Thank you. There it is. There it is. Waiting for him to go ahead and get on my boy Iron Man. Get on my boy and other stuff. But that's all we got for you guys. We appreciate everybody and definitely make sure to stay tuned. Make sure you hit that little subscribe button or that follow button. Make sure that you are watching all this stuff. We continue. We got way more anime coming up for the next month, as well as we've got stuff like Last of Us, Andor on the horizon. Like, we definitely got more stuff to talk about. So until then, we will catch you guys in the next one. Later.